pact once broken, forged anew.
Did you want waffles?
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Warlocks and Waffles. It feels like 1,000 years since we have last streamed. It has been entirely too long. Yeah, we went. Junie, where'd we go? Because we've been gone for
It's been so long.
1,000 years, roughly.
Yes. When you said 3, 2, 1, I thought you were going to play the intro.
No. When I said 3, 2, 1, the intro had been playing for a solid 4 minutes already.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes complete and total sense. I forgotten because we were talking. It was over a week ago. It was National Tabletop Day, and we went on airplanes and rode in vehicles, and we went to the Capitol Mall in Washington, and we were the opening act.
We opened the show. Yeah. We said yeah, we do a morning show, and they said, cool, you'll be first, and we were like, we played ourselves.
You're used to being early and getting there. The audio is not great on my end. I still think that I'm gonna post it and just
we'll throw it up on the YouTube.
But it is it was like this only in a mall with people walking by.
It was very I feel like both of us were very anxious as we like got ready to go on stage. Just because we've never done that before. Like, I've been on stages before, but we haven't done this. Like, we've done panels together. But like it's very different when you're like, I'm on a panel at a convention, and I'm talking about like this very specific topic, and people are asking questions, and like there's 5 other people that are up here with me and stuff, versus we are in the middle of a mall, and it's just you and I, and we have an hour and a half of like entertain the masses. It was a very different experience. And I don't know about you. I can't speak for your own anxiety levels. I know that before we went on, I was drinking this. They had this drink in the mall called Dragon's Breath, which was very, very good. And I was sitting there and I'm drinking the Dragon's Breath, and it's like a Red Bull drink, so it has a lot of caffeine in it, and I'm drinking it very, very slowly. And Gabe comes over and he's like, you barely drink your drink. Like, you need to get that. You need to finish that so that you can like go on stage. And I'm like, here's the thing, man. And I like turned my watch so that he could see like my heart rate on my watch, and it was at 148. And I was like, I will not be chugging this, because my anxiety is mixing with my Adderall, and my Adderall is mixing with the caffeine, and it is all resulting in high anxiety. So I was like,
coming in a little hot.
I am? My bad,
just a smidge.
How's that?
It's all good.
How's that?
It's good.
Okay. I changed mic settings right before we went live, so I did not check how they would look.
I know I increased my gain, but that was at neutral. Hey, how's it going levels? And I know that once we start
going, we start going.
Then it's gonna get louder. I get really calm, like, because I feel like that's my natural element where I'm just like, hey, this is good. I don't know. I kind of like holding a mic. So it
Dude,
was.
I
Yeah.
for anyone who wants to know, are Junie and Hunter like kind of similar in real life? We are, and I know this because Hope, who was like coordinating everything the day of, was like, okay, so we can either sit you like behind the table, so you're sitting at the table, or we can put chairs in front of the tables, and you can sit in front of the tables. And both Junie and I simultaneously went in front of the tables. And then she said, we thought you were gonna have head mics, like that we're gonna like be picking you up, but you're gonna have like handheld mics instead. And I was like, are they wired? And she was like, no, they're like wireless mics, so like you'll be able to like do whatever you want. And I was like, perfect, because I will almost definitely want to just move around a lot. And then she told Junie the same information, and Junie's immediate reaction was, wonderful, because I will probably be moving around a lot. And it was like,
I was already prepared to go into if
Yeah.
there was like people into a crowd. I didn't tell you about this. I apologize. But me and Hunter, the problem with this was we did elect to be in front of whatever table situation
Yes.
is there. Because I'm a larger individual, I tend to be hyper aware of like, hey, this is how my shirt's sitting, or this is how my legs are doing. Hunter did not. He found out something about himself. For the audio listener, this is
apparently my
Hunter.
resting sitting position is with my legs spread to roughly, it's more
It's
than a
actually
90-degree
wide.
angle.
He tries to almost. It's like he's trying to do like some sort of yoga pose where he's like, how far apart can I get my knees?
Yeah.
And it's
It
like,
is
yeah, this happened more often than not. This is just one still image.
Yeah.
Me, I tried to do like, one angled foot back, like I'm leaning forward. Hunter you were fine. You weren't like, oh God, look at this guy. But it was so funny to see your legs. Like, what am I doing with my legs?
I was like, like, I don't want to be the man spread guy.
hard,
Like,
yeah.
I don't want to be that guy. But like, that is my natural, just sort of like, okay,
No one's
like,
gonna sit next to
let's
me.
sit down.
Yep.
Oh man, yeah, it was
On the plane ride back. I was on a window seat and there was nobody in the middle aisle this time.
nice.
So the guy next to me is like, oh, nobody's here. I was like, do you mind if I? He's like, no. And it was just like, ooh, yeah, I get to sit however I feel like now. I'm not gonna keep this up, but it was a fun realization.
Yeah, it was we were like looking back through the video to be like, okay, how did it turn out and stuff. And Judy's just like grabbing like screenshots of it as we're going through. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm like, why am I sitting like that? Like, I don't think that's my natural sitting position, but apparently when I'm on stage and like relaxed and stuff, my natural sitting position is to assume the form of a ballerina, where I'm just going to like turn my feet and so they are pointing in opposite directions, and just spread my legs as far as I can, and just assume this sort of weird like sumo wrestler ballerina stance. It was not something that anyone should have to know about themselves.
I totally get it. I understand. Just because I now have the album in front of me, here's another image.
Oh my
of,
goodness, yes. Put
our
Hope
friend
on
Hope.
blast.
She was amazing. She was so amazing, and she refused to take credit for the tremendous amount of work she was putting in. She was very like, oh no, this is a lot of people like that. This woman was running around all day.
Yes.
All day, making sure everything was running smoothly, on point. And here's her making the honest mistake of forgetting to put our little name placards.
We had like
up
little
there that
pieces
has
of
our
paper
name.
that had our name and the name of the show, and like those were supposed to be sitting next to us.
Nothing crazy. But she forgot them, but that she hilariously put them up last minute, and I managed to catch
it was so good.
panic on her face as she was getting those up there last minute, and she was so great. I
What
told her
you can't
that night, like,
what you can't see in those pictures is on Junie's side, because the way the camera was framed. On Junie's side, there is also a piece of paper, but when when she put Junie's up, all you see is like a hand just sort of appear from off screen and set the paper down, and
oh
then
yeah,
retreat off the side.
yeah. So mine, I love this. I'm gonna put this somewhere. It's just a printed out little piece of paper,
Mhm.
good cardstock, I
You,
guess.
you
But
could
I
have
was
made
just
that
like,
at home.
I'm gonna put this somewhere that
Yeah.
just, I was like, I like this. But and I still need to email someone about this. And once again, I'm just, because I have the album up and I'm putting all of Hunter's information out there. Do you care if I talk about the cool thing you got?
No, go for it.
Hunter got this sweet ass wooden character sheet
Yeah,
that, like, he smelled immediately.
I did.
This is, yeah, look at that thing. It's laser engraved
Laser
wooden
engraved.
character sheet.
It has my name. It says that I'm a warlock, variant human with the entertainer background. So yeah,
I'm gonna send an email about that today. Oh God, hold on,
it smells so good.
my computer's being dumb. Hold on.
Unrelated.
My screen turned off.
Oh, your screen turned off?
Yeah, my thing's been acting stupid recently, so like I have to. Okay, I'm back.
Unrelated. This is not from our trip at all. But I do want to shout out one of my groups. Apparently, like a year ago, backed a Kickstarter for a set of dice for me. As a gift, as we were wrapping up our campaign. And so they showed up, and so they shipped them out to me. But like, look at these dice. Look at these beautiful things.
For the audio listener, describe what they can't look at. Paint a word picture.
They are like a gold orb with numbers on it, and the orb is like this beautiful like lattice work almost. And then inside the orb is a smaller lattice work orb that rolls around inside of it. And then outside of the orb is a like metal cage that goes around it, and the whole thing is in gold. And so it just looks like this beautiful like arcane reliquary type thing.
Okay, I misunderstood when I looked at these things. I just thought it was like a dice and a cage. Do they roll like independently or something of one another? Or?
They do. So the two that you can see there, like the outer cage and the inner one, do not roll separately. But you might be able to see as I move it around, there's like a little bit of movement on the inside. There is a tiny ball inside of it, which results in as they move around. I don't know if you can hear it on the mic.
They jangle. Okay. Right. There was some sort of.
But they sound like, they remind me of the sleigh bells from Polar Express. If you've ever seen that movie.
Yes. Horrifying. Yes.
And they're so pretty, and I love them so much. And thank you huge shout out to Barty, Joel, and the Severed Heads. Really appreciate you guys. These are my new favorite set of dice, and they have taken a place of honor at in my dungeon.
Fantastic. There is also this is gonna be the last thing I bring up from this trip, because it's going to speaking of your dungeon, it's going to impact your dungeon.
Yes.
And I do have a picture of that. The small was huge. The small was
it's a big mall.
Really huge. And the first thing I saw when I walked in was there was a stage with chairs set up, and they had these columns, and on each of the columns they had banners, like vinyl, like serious legit banners with the logos of different companies, like different brands,
Sirenscape, Magpie Games. Yeah.
Correct. And lo and behold, we look over to like the right, and I'm like, oh my God, look over there,
Mm-hmm.
and on one of the pillars, proudly displayed, is the Warlocks and Waffles logo right there.
There it is.
The waffle mic,
Yeah.
for all to see. Like, first thing people would see when we walk in, they're just like, "Hey, that's a waffle microphone. That looks cool." Because that's the first thing. It's just like, "Yo, that looks cool. I don't know what it's about, but I like it." You know what I mean? Somebody can just like go,
I am
"Yes,
into that vibe.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm into that thing."
Yeah.
And it was really cool to see.
Yeah.
I know Hunter was a proud mama all day.
Every time I looked
'Cause
at it, I could like just giant smiles spread across my face. I was so giddy.
oh yeah.
I was like, it was such a cool little detail to have there. But yeah, that will they are shipping it to me. It will either go on this wall right here where I will be able to look at it constantly, or it will go back here on this wall. I have not decided yet. I will have to play around with it once it's here. But I'm very excited.
I'm excited too. There's something else that I guess hasn't been sent to you yet, but we'll talk about that when you get it.
Yeah, that one's a once it's here conversation.
Yeah, yeah. But we just want to thank Hope Capital Mall, and I guess we could say Gabe. We could mention him. We can name drop that he did it. They
close personal friend of the show, Gabe Mercer.
Close personal. Yeah. For considering us, taking good care of us. And
canonically, no relation to Matt Mercer.
Correct. Yes.
As
No
far
relation.
as far as anyone can prove.
Yes, correct. But they took great care of us, and we definitely will love to come out and do anything like that
Absolutely.
again. If anybody else wants to fly us out for conventions or events,
if you want us to do a thing.
Yeah, you want the only TTRPG morning show to come out and give you our special brand of nonsense. Hit us up.
Yeah. This event didn't have like we would love you to talk about this thing. If you have a specific thing that you're like, you guys should talk about this for this show, absolutely send it to us. We are happy to talk about most nonsense things. I think we sort of went all over the place in the live show, but it was a good time. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I hit the wrong button. I mapped a clip button, and I hit the wrong thing. But that did remind me of something, because I was like, the title of this episode is Playing the Monsters Smart.
It is.
Because Hunter, you messaged me the other day asking me if I something that nobody really asks me except for in the D&D context is if I had a certain book. I used to work in a library. People used to go, "Did you read this book? Or have you read this book?" That doesn't happen anymore unless it's very specific context. And you asked me about this book right here. The Monsters Know What They're Doing: Combat Tactics for Dungeon Masters by Keith Amon. Right here.
Yeah.
This book is fantastic.
Yes.
A player gifted it to me. I spent last night doing a bunch of tabs and such on there because I wanted to discuss a whole lot, and then things for my own memory and research and knowledge. But you just picked it up.
Yeah.
You wanna give people an idea of what this book's about?
Yeah, so Grace and I were away on vacation this weekend, and so when we were driving home, the AC in her car stopped working because the car was too warm. So I was like sweating and dying, and I was like, I need to pull over so that I can let the AC like start working again, because it like gets too hot and then it stops working. And so exactly when you don't want it to stop working. So we pulled into this like mall thing, and there was a Barnes and Noble there, and so I ran in, and we were like, that's a good place to waste some time. And I found this book, which is a book that I have, because there's a blog as well. And on, I have looked at the blog many times in the past. It is incredibly well written content. Absolutely love the content that he puts out in this. But I had never actually read through the book itself, and so I was like, well, let's pick it up. Let's see what's going on. So This is a book of combat tactics for dungeon masters. On the inside of it, and if you in like the table of contents area, they've got like why these tactics, find it, like what monsters want. They go through a breakdown of like if you are if the monster is a humanoid, if they're just an NPC, if they're a monstrosity.
I have a full breakdown of like how things how his approach to the things, and I pointed out to Hunter that like there are several bits of each chapter that are fantastic rules of thumb.
Yes.
For dungeon masters. Once again, a lot of this is from his blog. I personally don't know if like this is all ripped. I think there is original content specifically for this book, but a lot of this is there is from the blog. But like I'm a big first line person.
Yeah.
I fall into the trap of this all the time. Writer's tip: if you are struggling with a first line, don't write the first line. Write everything else and the first line. Come back to it afterwards. Because I like a good strong start, and the first line of this is: any creature that has evolved to survive in a given environment instinctively knows how to make the best use of its particular adaptations. And that is the one thing that I think people need to know whenever they use anything in any encounter, any story, anything they're using, even if it's human, that he goes into humans and nobles and like thieves and stuff like that, because
I think there's
everything comes down to
there's city guards and stuff.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
And it all comes down to like, is it for food? Is it for survival? Or what is it their specific a creature type wants? And he goes into like societal needs, and this thing focuses more on like dominion and all that fun stuff. It surprised me some of the ones that he like really chewed on, like, and like really dove in on, and other ones he didn't go as hardcore into, because it's
you mentioned that the fact that he didn't go into dragons that hard was surprising to you.
Because and it could be he says that like oh, you don't want every monster to just be like claw bite or something like that. But he makes the concession that sometimes they are going to be that. Certain creatures, like they are either not intelligent enough, or like that is how they survive. Like this is the thing that works for them. And sometimes the flavor text, does give you enough. But one thing I saw like a little interview with him, he pointed out, and I put a little post on this. He uses the phrase ability contour. Did you see this?
No.
This and it refers to the pattern of high and low scores in a creature's stat block.
Okay.
And it's like he basically goes, if it's like you almost go like, all right, these are the high points and these are the low points. So if it is a high strength, high constitution, that's more of a brawler. It's going to be up there. Right. If it's a high dexterity, and like high intelligence, it's going to be more of like a nimble. It was like if it was high strength and high dex, it was going to be like an ambusher.
Right.
If
it wants to get you and get you down as fast as possible so that you don't have a chance to hit it. Yeah.
But like high wisdom is like they really recognize when they're like, okay, this is not working, like, and know when to cut out a lot faster, or it was either high intelligence or high wisdom. I forget how he phrased it, but one of them is like more of they'll focus on the weaker target first, or the easier target, or if they have like a this is the one that's going to be advantage. Like this is the one that gives them the advantage. It's not the weakest or strongest, but they recognize the range fighter, or they recognize the spellcaster type of thing. I don't want to give away all the stuff. I just know that I like little hints. Like this is all like from the preface, like why these tactics and what monsters want. Like just little tips that are sometimes I take them for granted, and I don't think about them, or I do them instinctually, but reminding yourself out loud, or writing them down somewhere, it
Mhm.
helps. Like if no others, like just a whole bunch of stuff to like, you know, improve combat and
Yeah.
all that, but like if no other solution presents itself, let the battle end quickly so that you and your players can move on to more interesting things.
Mhm.
And it's something where if it is going to be a claw bite or something like that, I know for me, if it gets to the point where it's just, even if it is a big thing, like if it gets to the point where it's just like you're going to do it anyway, I
Right.
stop using initiative and stuff and I just
Mhm.
go, how do you guys cinematically want to do this?
Right.
Because then it's just a point of like, oh, who's going to roll and miss hilariously on this thing? But you can do it where it's make them cool because now they're in control of the situation. The
Sure.
dice, you know, dictate if something can go one way or another, but why make people roll when it's like a guaranteed situation at
Mhm.
that point? But every line that he has, he outlines all the creature types, and I think he does a great job. I think there was only like once or twice I went through and I was like, like, you know, either I think there was like one thing I disagreed with,
Mhm.
but other things I felt like it was like these are just good, like outlining goals of
Well,
generalities, and
and
it's not all 100%.
even if you know, like, even if you don't agree fully with what's happening,
Correct.
there's still like there's a lot that you can do with it that is still like useful.
Correct.
Like I do you remember which one was like the one that you didn't agree with?
Yeah, it was a little more towards the middle. Also, I guess in my brain, I didn't realize that bugbears were in the goblinoid category.
Yeah, yeah.
I just
It's
didn't think
goblins,
about that.
bugbears, and hobgoblins are all in
I
this
knew
in the same family.
hobgoblins.
Yeah.
I would have included um like ogres and trolls for some reason, like
Mm.
in that
No,
family.
ogres and trolls are
They're
in the
giants.
giants. Yeah.
Yeah,
But bugbears, the it's the reason that they have they're like naturally sneaky
yeah,
is because they're a goblinoid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I love a
this was
bugbear.
just for me.
Bugbear is
He,
my favorite.
I wanted to pay close attention to the because it's real interesting and it's I guess something that I know that was, and I'm sure he acknowledges this.
Mhm.
There is every once in a while there's going to be problematic issues, like, you know, things with the like ways that things are presented. He does, you know, ride the line of like, this is just going off of this information.
Sure.
You can change it however you want. You can infer things that make more sense.
Mhm.
Like, you know, it's just like I think it says like hobgoblins like hate elves,
Mm.
and like it's almost like they're written as like they'll stop whatever they're doing to like fight an elf. But
Right.
he writes like, would they give up their strategic advantage and ruin everything for their troops and do it
Mhm.
for that? Most likely not. Would they, if they have two shots and they, you know, had to pick one, like that's where they would lean maybe. But like, you know, he doesn't like just lean into like, yeah, that's, you know, this is how horrible this thing is.
Right.
You know, he tries to make it make sense into like they're not gonna betray everything else about what they do because, you know, of this dumb thing. The mages part was good.
I
Once
really
again, I did a
appreciate
lot
that
of
he separated mages and archmages into their own categories.
yeah.
Of like your average mage has very different like driving factors than an archmage does. Which I thought
I
was
felt bad
a
for cultists.
very good you felt bad for cultists?
It was so funny the way he like, because it's true. A cynic might say the difference between an acolyte and a cultist is one's point of view, but the monster manual would disagree. Piety makes a difference. It was something like, where was it? It was something where it was just like, oh yeah, here we go. They have proficiency in deception, the only function of which, as far as I can tell, is either to try and convince you that they're not cultists at all, just ordinary villagers going about our business, or recruitment purposes. How would you like to come to our self-actualization workshop? And it's just like they're just people that are like, you know what I mean? Like, because they didn't get
Yeah.
any cult fanatics get spellcasting, the other ones didn't. So
Right.
that's what he was trying to go. Like, they didn't have any sort of extra flavoring in that regard.
Yeah.
But oh man, which one was the one that I just I highlighted this thing. Go if you have something to go into specifically as far as those were concerned, because he said something about mimics that blew my mind, and I like it's one of the things I've read it a million times before, and I never thought about it.
Sure.
I'm an idiot.
I love a mimic, so if you want to go into mimics, let's do it.
Overall, it was oh yeah, I get this, it goes into some tactics and whatnot, but something that has nothing specifically to do with mimics, because you can do them in any type of way, any sort of shape and whatnot, but the mimic adheres to anything that touches it, not any creature. So if you strike a mimic with a melee weapon, the weapon sticks to it.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to say like
specify a like item.
I thought he was going to go into like, oh, it can like that. I thought it was going to be like, oh, it's going to like spider climb on the wall or something like that. But no, it's just like if you punch it or kick it, like I think I've done it with punches and kicks, but like with like hits with a sword or something like that. I was like, oh, I never thought about it, but I was like, no, what if that thing sticks too? And I thought that was a fun little reminder.
I feel like a sharp, like a bladed weapon would cut through it, whereas a bludgeoning, it is going to like hit into it, and then it is immediately going to stick.
As I was going through, like I once again I liked to look at the ones he really chewed in on. Ones that surprised me, like there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7-ish pages on Kraken.
I love the Kraken.
Hello? Oh, okay. My screen cut out again, so everything froze and cut out. It's my graphics card situation. But yeah, like Krakens are huge, and it gives you so many options because it's situational on what they can do. But which one was one? I think it was Celestials. Mummy Lords were cool.
While you're looking at that, fun thing for mimics for all of you evil GMs out there. A mimic can take the form of any object. So it's not bound to being a treasure chest or something like that. It can take the form of any object. So there's a lot you can do with that. However, my favorite thing to do with that is, according to the Dungeon Master's Guide, once a body is dead, it is no longer a person, it is an object. And so a mimic can take the form of a dead body and just be laying on the ground as a dead body with like a bag or something there. That is substantially less of a like, what is this sort of thing than like a chest alone in a room. If there's a body laying on the floor there, the players are going to be much more likely to try and search it, at which point immediately like adhesive and pseudopods and teeth. I love mimics. Mimics are fantastic. Do you find your thing? I have no audio for you now. No audio. Completely silent now. I don't know if the chat can hear you and I can't, but I absolutely cannot hear you.
Oh,
there you are.
Oh, okay.
Welcome back.
All right. I guess a second. Hi. I was saying I keep finding new things that I'm like, yeah, that thing's cool too.
I thought it was interesting that there are in the whatchamacallit, in the beasts section, there's only 3 beasts that he goes
small.
over, because he only goes over dinosaurs, sturges, and flying snakes. Like those are the only 3 beasts that he goes over, and I think it makes sense that you don't necessarily need to go over like, well, how is a lion going to attack, how is a wolf going to attack. Like there is already information out there on like, if I want to research like how do wolves attack, I can do that. Whereas
he goes into the it's what do they want,
Mhm.
and for most beasts, it's a matter of food. And
Yeah.
if it's like, oh well, it's territory, it's like they want to secure the territory so they can secure their food. So it comes down to that a lot of times. Did you lose me again?
No.
Oh.
My Google Assistant in my office just said that they were turning the living room lights on. I was like,
Oh, oh, you should warn me because I'll say things.
oh no, it was Grace turning the living room lights on.
Oh, okay. I was about to
But
say, I was just like,
the so we have three of them, but the one in the living room currently doesn't work, and so if you say it loud enough, it will be picked up by one of the other two. But then whichever one picked you up is the one that is going to give the like confirmation of the thing you've requested. And so it gets wonky sometimes.
there's something in the middle of the book that you just like exemplified with your mimic situation. And he talks about mixing it up, and sometimes taking the way something is written or thrown out there and putting a new spin on it. And he gives an example from a book called Sherlock Holmes versus Dracula. Um, yeah,
I've
and
never wanted to read a book so bad in my entire
right.
life.
And he says it's less funny and more of like just like engage and it's entertaining than you might assume is the way he writes
Mhm.
it. But he says something where at one point Dracula walks into Holmes's room in the middle of the day, and Holmes expresses surprise that Dracula can go out in broad daylight.
Sure.
And Dracula's like, "Oh, yeah, it's just I don't have any of my supernatural powers when I do."
Mm.
And it's, yes, they cannot go out in the daylight because they are done. Because like that's
Right.
a fun twist on it. You know what I mean? So they can be any
It's kind
inanimate object.
of the same vibe as like a troll who like loses their regeneration when you're exposed to fire, right? Where it's the
Yeah.
same thing with a vampire, where if they're exposed to that like radiance, the sunlight, then they are it's not that they're
They
taking
lose, yeah.
extra damage from it, they just lose the ability to use those powers that rely on the darkness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's one of those things where you can change it into something else.
Mhm.
I mentioned earlier how he gives he gives brief synopsises on every aberrations and
Mhm.
monstrosities, and he puts them all where they are in the monster manual. And there was once or twice I was like, shouldn't that be over there? And even he says like, I don't know about this one. Like the Nothic is
Yeah.
it's in one of the places where it should be kind of in the other one. Where
what is it? A Nothic is a
Nothics are they're either monstrosities or aberrations, and I'm flip flopping it, or that's where they are.
I feel like they're an aberration and they should be an undead technically.
Yeah, they're aberration. Oh, I don't think they should be undead. They should be monstrosities. That's what I think, because they're categorized as aberrations, but they should be monstrosities, and I agreed with that. Because Nothics are described as once wizards whose avarice and secret knowledge led them to be cursed by the Lich Vecna. Like they become corrupted and they become something else.
Right. That's why I categorized them as an undead, is that like their form is created by like their pursuit of dark magic, and then they're cursed by Vecna. Like what do you
it's funny, yeah.
What do you call a humanoid that is cursed by Vecna? Like that's not
that's funny.
A regular person anymore.
The next line is, this origin story seems to make them cousins to the undead as well. Like that's the next line, yeah.
Yeah, I anytime I have there's a couple of monsters. And I think it's the Nothics and the what are they called? Claw bones. That are like their creation is sort of innately tied to like wizard who was seeking too much power or wizard who was like trying to ascend to lichhood and failed. That so anytime I have like a powerful lich character that I want to use, I always use like Nothics and Clawbones and stuff like that as like their henchmen of like people that he like when he ascended, he promised his followers that he would help them also ascend. And like led them through the ritual knowing that they weren't powerful enough to like fully hold on to that magic. And when it failed, they transform and then he takes control of them. And it's so satisfying when you have a player who knows like a lot about the lore, because they will end up being like, why Nothics? Why Clawbones? Why these? Why are the, and there's also like other undead, but like why these ones? There's a lot of monsters. Why have you chose these ones? And they start like putting those pieces together. Yeah, there's some fun stuff you can do with that. Oh, I was just gonna say I love we've talked about this before. I love a monster that is played to the best of its abilities. And I feel like very rarely do I have the opportunity to play a monster to its full capabilities. Like I usually feel like if I put a monster out that is going to be a like, yeah, this is a this CR is that it will be a deadly encounter for the party. And then the party's fine. Like they're gonna get through that no problem, because the CR calculations are whack in 5th edition. But there's a lot of stuff that you can do to balance those odds. And I have found I actually think it is easier to play low CR monsters really smart and like play them in a way that they become a much more dangerous threat than is to play high CR monsters smart and have them become a threat, because you are going to double or triple the amount of threat that they are exhibiting in a fight. So if you have a really powerful thing that you're also playing just incredibly smart, like, oh my goodness, that thing is that is a danger to anyone. I had an ancient blue dragon in one of my games, who like their whole thing was that they were a god in their time. Like when they were younger, they were a terror across the skies. They were leveling cities. They were unstoppable. And then adventurers started coming and they were attacking, and like he was fine, he was taking them out, but like the hassle of it is what got to him. And he's like, it is frustrating having to deal with these adventurers coming after me. And so that's what made him be like, okay, I'm going to retire, essentially. And so he had moved into this like cave system out in the desert, and slowly like kobolds and dragonborn and other like people who wanted to worship this dragon slowly amassed to him, and this cult started growing around him. And so they would bring him food and treasure and anything that he needed, they would bring him, and they would do it in like some of them were just like wealthy individuals who were like, absolutely, to serve the dragon, let me contribute my wealth to the dragon. Others were like, yeah, let me ambush like a merchant on the road or something. But for the most part, they were not a huge threat anymore. They had resigned themselves to, if I stay hidden, if I stay away, I don't have to worry about people coming after me and harassing me and attacking me as long as I lay low. And the party found out about him and they went after him. And when they got to his lair, it was like, blue dragons have a burrowing speed. So he had just made intricate, like honeycombed, ant colony essentially, in this cave system, because he can just dig through the ground. And so when they got in there, they walked in, and then the tunnel they had came through collapsed behind them. He just collapsed that one, and then like there are hundreds of tunnels that just go off in all directions from where his horde is, so that he can get to his horde very quickly at any given time. But anybody who would try and get to it other than him would have a very, very difficult time.
They would get lost, or there'd be.
And so they got like trapped in this room, and then he like came out and he's like, I don't want to deal with you. Like, I am an ancient blue dragon. You are an inconvenience to my day if I have to fight you. And they were like, we're gonna kill the dragon and like be heroes and take your money. And they attacked him, and he was like, okay, fine. And he like specifically took his breath weapon and he eliminated one of them. Like right off the bat was just like lightning to this one particular person.
I've done this.
Take them out. And he's like, leave now. And they didn't. They continued to fight. And so he's like, okay, fine. And he starts like, he burrows under the ground. He's coming up. He's attacking. He's like grabbing things and pulling them into the ground. Like he is the master of his domain. And so when they finally were like, there are 3 people down, like we need to go, they like took their people, they teleported away, they got out of there, and I just had like his voice follow them as he teleported of like, I know you're sent and you don't get to run away after I gave you the chance. And it became this thing of like, he's now like, he doesn't care about the cities, he doesn't care about the people, like he will crush everything in his path to find you and eliminate you for the disrespect you have shown. And then he will return to his horde and he will retire again. And like that dragon was a like, this could be a problem. Like this could be a much bigger deal than if I just used the base stat block of that dragon.
There's something also when you get like a appropriate CR or just a little bit higher and you go, all right, well, this is the one thing they need to worry about. My first experience with this was in one of my first home games where they surrounded a young white dragon and it just became a surround and pound. And that's where I like, it's like, oh, they just go all around it and then just beat it up. And then that's like trying, but it can't do anything.
Right. And the action economy is usually weighted in the player's favor.
Correct. And that's where like I improvised something that I didn't make up. I was like, I thought about it from Power Rangers, and that's why Mephits became my favorite thing. And it was, he stomps into the ground, these pillars of ice come out of the ground, and you see this little ice goblin thing. And then I summoned ice Mephits to break up the field.
Yeah.
And then if they destroyed them, the druid was getting hit. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I had to like mess with it.
Well, and especially with something like that, where it's like, it's a young white dragon. So if it's a young white dragon, it doesn't have like lair actions yet, right?
Correct.
But like, you can play it off of like, you have antagonized it so much that it has just done its first lair action.
Correct.
And like now it does. Like now it is learning to control its stuff. Like it feels very like Scott Summers in X-Men being like bullied and gets hit in the head, and then the lasers start shooting out of his head of like, you've pushed me too far. Scott Summers Cyclops, I think that's right. It's been a long time.
That was good. That was good. I
shouldn't have questioned it. I should have just kept going.
I highlighted something about Mephits. It was funny because he outlines like this is their number one thing for everything. And Mephits, I think Elementals was where I started like wondering how I felt, like, I think I was leaning towards something different. And it's all the like I said, every chapter begins with like, a little paragraph or two about each thing. And he highlights great stuff like on fiends. Like I didn't really think about like the distinction between there's 3 categories. And it's devils or tyrants, demons or unbound forces of devastation, and Yugoloths are psychopathic and also opportunistic. And there's
Mhm.
that other category of things, and I never really thought about it.
Yeah, well, there's
Um,
also
and
some
elementals are not governed by the laws, natural laws, but by ideas
yes.
about the natural world.
Mhm.
And when they're threatened, it's a tug of war between preserving their own lives and expressing their natures, no matter what.
Mhm.
And it's like, no matter, like, even if it's like something is against what they want, it's like, oh, I'm a fire related something or other, so I want to
Mhm.
destroy type of
Right.
thing. And for Mephits, it was survival is there, and that's where I started to go like, oh, what about Mephits? Because like the water weirds and the elementals, like they're
Mhm.
almost like just raw nature, but the Mephits have
Methods have a little
personality.
bit more
Oh, I
like
can't hear you now. Oh
oh
wow, that's fun.
my
That's so funny.
I'm
Now I
pretty
can't hear
sure
you.
my audio is going through the call. So I'll
No, I don't hear you.
it's definitely transmitting. And somebody in the chat back me up. Dope. Thank you.
Let me.
Uh
Oh, they can hear both of us.
yeah.
So let me change my audio output and see if I can hear you through somewhere else.
Junie's having a struggle
Um,
day.
Hello. Nope.
Can you hear me, Junie?
Yes, but I have to put you through my laptop for some
That's not
reason.
ideal.
No, can you hear yourself?
Testing. No.
Okay.
We're good. Yeah, what I was saying was I feel like Mephits are almost somewhere between like an elemental and an imp. Of like they're not fully just this like raw, unbound like nature power. There is a intent behind their summoning. Like they take more of the intent behind the thing that has brought them than a raw elemental does. I feel like a raw
Well, that's
elemental you're
something where I
usually
like.
summoning for like
I
a
definitely. Oh,
uh
good.
like a raw elemental you're summoning basically just for like I need the like do destruction, like fire elemental attack these people. Mephits you're usually like let's summon a swarm of them, let's get like a few of them to start like picking people off, like do these other tasks, that sort of thing. Which is one of the reasons Mephits are so much fun, is that they are a little bit more on the like mischievous caster side of things, I feel like.
Yeah. I saw something in an anime that actually made me rethink summoning, and it makes sense if we think about it like this, where you're pulling, unless you are creating something,
Mhm.
you're taking something from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So the thing with Mephits is they exist. They are just, the way I think I've described them before is like they are little fragments of nature, but given personality and life, right? So when it comes to summoning a Mephit, you're pulling a Mephit from somewhere. You are
Right.
taking it. And and with anything summoning, your magic needs to exceed the capabilities, or be like, you have to essentially convince with your magic whatever it is you're
Yes.
bringing into that you are better than it, and it has to listen
Yeah.
to you. And if you can't, it's not going to.
Yeah.
So
It's one of the
like
reasons
methods
that
that are just can crawl over something like that. uh I know I've done where it'll be hopefully be released in the next month, but something along the lines of like, in theory, the same method can be summoned more than once.
Mhm.
And I did a thing where essentially it was a group of methods that were repeatedly summoned, and this is like they're finally going to get out type of thing. Listen to the Kill Every Monster podcast because it's going to be a fun methods episode.
The I feel like the majority of like summoned things, it can be very easy to get sort of swamped in like stuff that you're summoning and things like that. And also if you have a character who is summoning stuff, because like you said, they are bringing it from somewhere else, part of the thing that I do with summoned creatures is I have you ever used like any of the djinn, like the ifrit or the like any of them?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
one of the things that you do if you have like an Afridi bottle, right? Is there is a roll to see like what is his temperament towards you, when you summon him from the bottle.
Hmm.
I do a roll behind the scenes anytime a player summons anything. Like if it is an elemental, if it is a creature, whatever it is, I do a roll behind the scenes. And what I do is it's not for like how does the creature feel about you, right? Because they are summoning it, they've already exerted their magical control over this. What I roll for is to see their understanding of the situation, of they have just been summoned from somewhere else. Do they remember where they were? Do they know what they were doing? Like, do they know that they've just been ripped away? Or are they like fully consumed by the magic, sent forward to do this thing, and then they will return? Or are they like very aware and like actively don't want to be there, or like something like that? So I roll for that on my end, just to see, to be able to flavor it on my end of that sort of thing. And I've done that with things like with the deck of many things as well, because there's a card from the deck of many things that summons a fourth level fighter who will serve you until death. And I do the same thing where I roll and I'm like,
if they're aware of it, yeah.
do they know where they came from? Do they know like their background, their story, like anything like that? Because if they do, that's a horrible thing. Like they've been ripped away from whatever it is and brought to this thing, and they are now pledged to this person until death, and they know that they have like something else out there. Like they might not have specifics, but they have like an idea of it, or they might know exactly where they were and what they were doing and why it's important that they need to get back. And their whole thing is going to be like, you need to release me from this curse that you've put me under. Like anytime you're summoning a creature,
it's a curse to them.
It is a curse to them. Like it's an incredible benefit to you of like, oh, I have a fourth level fighter who's going to do whatever I say and like will like follow my orders and serve me until death. That's an incredible benefit to me. But what I found is the majority of players will like take that character and be like, oh, well, we now have to use an actual example, we now have Dwarvy McDwarvenson. Let's just send him down the hallway of this dungeon, and we'll find out if it's trapped, if he gets hit by traps, or he'll make it to the other side. And he became their like bag of rats that they were just like, go down this hall, and then he would do it because
canary in the mine where it's just like,
stuck
go
and
see
he's
if they
bound.
die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he would get to the other side, and like if there were traps, he would have taken it and stuff. And so he was just constantly like, listen, I have a family. I know what's going on, but he can't say it. He's bound by this magic, but he knows it. And so his whole thing became like, please, like he started begging anytime they were like, yeah, go down this hall. And he was like, please, like just let me just investigate the hall first. Let me see if I can find. And they're like, walk down the hall. It's like,
oh, because if they died, would they not be able to go? Would they go back, or would they just die?
And there's two ways of looking at it there, because you could go like he'll return when he dies, or you could look at it and go like, if he like the wording of the card is that they'll serve you until death.
Yeah.
So if they die, are they dead? And like that is their understanding. And so it's this whole thing. Anytime you have a summoned creature, like figure out what their relationship with it is with the thing that has summoned them. That even goes for things like familiars. Like if you have a familiar that you like consistently are just like, go check this thing out, and then it dies and you have to like resummon it, and you're resummoning it over and over again, like that familiar is not going to like you. Like if you're continuously bringing back the same spirit, and you keep like putting it into an animal form and then making it do a thing, and then it dies, and then you're resummoning. Like, it's not gonna like that.
I just thought about something where if the deck of many things is like, it's always supposed to be like this crazy artifact that's just be so powerful. A lot of spells that require like a resurrection type spell, something that's bringing something back, says like the spirit has to be willing. What if like the deck of many things, that's not a requirement? It can just pull something. So it was like, what if it was something that was like blissfully in its next life?
Oh,
And
like it had already died, and
it was with its family in heaven. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you're just like, I need you to check for traps. And it's just like, I want to die so I can go back to my wife and kids. You know what I mean? It's just like, I need to, like, I don't want to be here. Yeah.
That gets into a dark story real quick.
It's real bad. Speaking of dark things, I'm back on the fiend section, right?
Yeah.
I'm back on the fiend section, and there is almost I don't know how I would have approached some of the more problematic creatures in the monster manual. And one of the most problematic, there's plenty, and I'm not saying the most, but like as in like this is the worst one, but it is tricky, are incubi and
succubus.
Like an incubus and a succubus. They are very messed up. But there's something that he points out that it's not necessarily specific to them, but then I was like, it was another one of those like, oh damn it. It's nowhere in the rules is it written that a target must be conscious to be charmed. And then I thought about it and I was like, oh my God. What if literally anything just waits so it can use one of those things that it can do? All those things where it's like a charm, a saving throw. Imagine like a dominate person right before they wake up.
Yeah, because if they're unconscious, that's a disadvantage on the save, right?
Yeah. So just imagine just like, you know, they find them right before they're about to wake up, and it's just like, I could attack them and maybe get a good hit or two. But what if I get that one on my side and I'm like, play it cool until I tell you to betray them?
Yeah.
And then it's one of those things.
If you have like a powerful magic user who is like just like a lot of it is line of sight for those spells. So like they wouldn't even need to get into the room. As long as they can like look through a window or something and see the barbarian and just be like dominate and then like lie in wait, and then they're essentially like activating the Winter Soldier in that fight. That can get brutal quick. I heard talking about like incubus and succubus. I don't want to talk about them a lot because they are like a lot. But I heard somebody once say that incubus and succubus shouldn't refer to like a male presenting one and a female presenting one. It's just all incubuses are tops and all succubuses are bottoms, and like that's all that is. And I thought that was very like that's a fun twist on them.
I keep going back to, because Kill Every Monster goes into like a lot of this. Their episode, it was really nuts, because it was like they were like, yeah, the art is just like this leather daddy, and I'm like, okay, hold on a second here. I think that whole episode, it was a court drama.
That's so good.
It was like a mental court drama, and it wasn't necessarily a combat, but it was like, because the thing with like fiends, with like those, it's not so much like they're trying to fight you, it's corruption. So it was a big like, you know, convincing you you're wrong, or just corrupting you and tricking you, whatever, all that stuff, because they want to sow that into the world. There's so much that we've only like scratched the surface of, and I know that we have other things we need to do. But let's go into, do you have a favorite, either something from the book or just something in as far as a thing about creatures, or a specific creature that you know has drastically improved how you use them, or people should keep in mind when they use them?
I am a big fan of uh keeping the majority of like monstrosities, especially the more naturey ones, like an owl bear, a displacer beast, something like that. um I don't have those creatures hunt adventurers. They do not like go out looking for people. Usually I, because I do have a quest line that I've ran for a lot of like lower level characters, where like the local deer population has just been like decimated, and it's because like a mother owl bear has moved into the area and is just like wiping out the deer population, like stocking up meat to be able to feed to her cubs. um the I'm a big fan of like playing into the nature element of a lot of those, of like, if you were like walking in the woods and there's a bear around, unless there's like a cub nearby, the bear's probably going to leave you alone. Like it's probably going to go in the other direction. Like it's going to hear you coming before you get there. Like unless you surprised the bear, like it's not going to necessarily attack. And I feel like there's a lot of creatures in the monstrosity category specifically that that are sort of in that same vein of like, why would it attack? Like if it's one displacer beast and there are like 5 adventurers walking through the woods, it's not going to attack you. Like it's
Correct.
going to slink away, and hope that you don't see it.
If it's a beast or a monstrosity like that, it's either protecting something
Mhm.
or it is a watch beast of some sort where it is being like controlled or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah. So I really enjoy having quest lines where it's like, yeah, there's this like there's something decimating the deer population. And then the party goes out there and they're like, oh yeah, like this is a mother owl bear, like in its cave, like taking care of its cub. And like it's catching deer, like it's attacking deer so that it has food to feed the cub. And then you have like these adventurers that show up and they're like, what am I supposed to attack? Like what am I supposed to, like it's not doing anything wrong. Like it's just hunting to take care of its baby. It's going a little overboard, but like it's just doing it. And I think those encounters are so much more interesting to me than just like you're walking through a wood and owl bear attacks. Like the having a like understanding why something would attack, especially on like like random encounters, right? I don't necessarily do random encounters as much as I used to. But like random encounters specifically often end up feeling like, why is this happening? Like what is the reason behind this going on? And so having that sort of thing in place to of like, why is this creature attacking? Understanding that thought process behind it means that you're less likely to have encounters that just have no weight behind them and there's no meaning to them.
Yeah, I completely agree. If I'm using a random encounter table, it has to be like such a like the setting has to be so conducive to like letting anything drop in.
Yeah.
Or it has to be like a setting specific encounter table. So like when I run Icewind Dale, the encounter tables are all like they make sense.
Sure.
You know, it's like, oh, this is something in the storm. Oh, something's like lost out there. Something where it's like they're hunting. Like those make sense.
Yeah.
And it's less like a wild
and
magic
they're not
table
all
where it's just
combat.
like correct.
Like there's my favorite random encounters are the ones that
social ones
were social. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a random encounter that I had in a like one of my first campaigns when I was still just learning how to play. where we're walking through the woods and giant ticks fell from the trees and just started like just fell and just started burrowing. It's like, how do you fight this? Like, how do I fight a tick that just fell onto you? And it's like, just medicine, I guess. I'll try and like get it off of you. And it was just a like the panic happened of the encounter, but then we were like interacting with each other. We like, it was a like us working together to overcome the situation. It wasn't a like, I guess we'll stab it.
You summed it up like the definitely the thought process I go to. I think I consolidate it only into like, because I'm about like logic and trying to sum up everything into like a one sentence goal that I can at least touch on, and then anything that changes in front of me I can almost like reference that. So like the reason I really like the way Keith in this book, he like in each one he goes like, Giants goals revolve around rivalries, aberrations ultimate goals make no sense to us, and
they're alien in nature.
Correct, you know what I mean. Fey goals always have a clear emotional or aesthetic aspect to it, and kind of like circling back to that a lot. And he highlights that not all monster tactics are going to be interesting. You know what I mean? Every encounter doesn't have to be, but like they need to make sense,
right?
Because nobody wants to be in that encounter that's just like, okay, there's just this here, and it's like, why?
I think anyone who has ever played in a game can relate to like getting into a fight and being like, why are we having this fight? Like, what is
exactly understanding the logic
just to have the combat there.
Correct.
Yeah.
So just because the monster isn't interesting doesn't absolve you from the need to make the encounter interesting. And then he goes into tips on like how to make the encounter more interesting. It's use terrain, use all this stuff. But like the way I do that is by, prep always helps. But if you can't, if you don't have that luxury, then it's boil it down to, and this is for any NPC at all, but creatures, what does it
motives
want,
are important,
or what is its goal? And when he goes into like, things want like territory, or things want food, things want survival, or things want something like social, and it's like territory, well, that just goes back to food. Dominion, like dragons want dominion and treasure, and even like the benevolent ones, they're protecting you, but it's still like dominion. They're still like, you know what I mean? Or like the way, oh my God, he described dragons as mafia bosses. Like, and it's like, yo, they'll offer you protection, but the protection's kind of just from them.
Right.
Like if you give them treasure, it's just they're not going to attack you, and it's just giving that little why. And my favorite thing to do, and it makes the players, you can't always get that across. It definitely helps you make it feel more engaging, but give them that insight check, that nature, that survival, that whatever little check to kind of give them that little behind the scenes curtain of this. About owlbears, or you like this, and it's clicking for you. You know what I mean? You don't walk in and you're like, oh yeah, owlbears, blank, blank, blank. But then you're like, oh, this is a mom protecting a cub. You know what I mean? Like, a perception check leads to you hearing rustling, and you realize that there's a baby over there. And then you're like, everybody, we need to get out of here. And then it becomes less about fighting this big owlbear and more about just getting out of Dodge. And then you still get to the next step of the story. And now the combat encounter is different. Well, it's a different type of thing.
And one of the times I ran that encounter, there was a ranger and a druid in the party. And both of them were like rolling all sorts of checks and stuff. They were very, very into it. And they figured out very quickly that this is a mama, like this is a mom bear. Like she is protecting something. Like we are the bad guys here if we fight. And so their whole thing became, okay, we can't kill the mama bear. We also can't let it stay here because it is decimating the deer population, and that's hurting the town. We need to figure out a way to relocate this mama and her cub to somewhere
Trap
where
it, lure it.
she
Yeah,
isn't going to be doing that. And it was such an interesting like ride of game, of watching these players like figure out a way to do that, where they got very invested very quickly into like, okay, well, how do we make sure that they're transported somewhere safely? Where can we transport them that they'll be safe? Like, and taking care of it. They got very invested very quick. That group went back to where they had dropped off the mom and the cub a few times over the course of their campaign. And
like check in, or just they were in that area
to check in. And after a couple of times, like it wasn't there anymore. Like the cave was empty. It was clearly a hadn't been used in a bit. And then they came back, like they continued to come back just to keep checking. And the one time they walked in and there was a different owl bear there, guarding a nest. And they were like, oh, okay, so it's a different one. We should leave. And they turn around and there's another one that was there, and was like sneaking up on them, and it pounced on them, and then it just sort of like nuzzled into the ranger's face, and it was the baby from the original one, and this was its mate and its nest, and it had come back to the same place. They killed the
original mother. The baby killed the original mother.
Yeah, consumed it, became more powerful. Yeah.
Yes.
I've also had a group in that situation kill the mom, turn it into a cloak, and then raise the baby as its own, which is just an absolute nightmarish thing.
I was hoping you didn't go there, because we've had this. I've had that group before, where it's just like, well, we want that pet now. And I'm like, oh, is there a way we can do this that's a different way? I've seen Pokemon. There's a way to like make it respect you, and then it wants to go with you now. Like, there's come on, man. There's another way. All right, but we're a little over time. I know we are not done with the different categories. I think that we can definitely have a bunch of episodes going into these category breakdowns.
Absolutely,
going into our favorite monsters, and there's a lot of tactics that he goes into that I think are really good. And I know that there's ones that a lot that it could be story or setting specific, but something that I know that changes any situation at all is the terrain, the environment, and all that stuff. Because you can put, you can say all day that XYZ creature is going to behave like this, but you put it somewhere else, it has to change.
Right.
It has to apply its thing in this. Well, it doesn't have to, but it is going to use its thing to the best of its ability. And if it like has a small teleport, if it's like, yeah, but now I can teleport into these rafters, where before it was just like a savanna where it was just all flat land, and my teleport was just to help catch things, but now I can pounce from above. It's going to want to use that. So and talking about action economy and going like, why are you saving that? It's going to spam that crap, because it knows that's going to lead to its ultimate outcome. But we'll talk into like, we
can get into all of that.
This was a general thing on how to use those, but
just another shout out. They also this author also has another book, Live to Tell the Tale, which is combat tactics for player characters. So if you are a player and you're looking to improve your game, you can also do it through this book. I also, as I was looking at the cover here, it was like, these characters look really familiar, and I realized it's the same adventuring party from the cover of The Monsters Know What They're Doing. They're just
older
old because they survived.
That's awesome.
It's just a very cool little detail. But I'm very much looking forward to reading through both of those, and like really getting into some of the tactics here, because I love that stuff.
The first like chapter, like the first two chapters where it's like going over things, I felt was very beneficial. And like I don't like unless it was a textbook, I don't mess with my books like that. Sure. I took a highlighter out because I was just like, there's certain things where I was like, highlighting it's going to try to reinforce that little line. Giants' goals revolve around rivalries, like something like that in the back of my head. No matter what, I can like make it a little like I can, it can curve something in a way where I like. And then Tabs like all day. And then you can just go through and focus on like a monster that you are looking for. It has a table of contents. You go through and look for what you're looking for, and it's like, I know I'm going to use goblins, and like its whole section on hobgoblins, because there's different levels of hobgoblins. He eventually goes into how to stair stack them, and if you stair stack a hobgoblin captain, and then a hobgoblin warlord, and their advantage situations, just he's like, yeah, the warlord has a shield bash, and he wouldn't really use it unless it really would give him the advantage. But if he has friends nearby, he has 3 strikes. He's gonna try to give himself 2 advantage strikes and all his allies advantage.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I was like, yeah, he won't use it unless blank, and it becomes a logic puzzle at that point. Would do this if this, then do this, and once you have those things, you kind of start to see like, okay, more dexterous, they'll be faster, but they have low cons, so they don't want to be up close. And it's just, you start to use those rules of thumbs, and it doesn't have to be the ones in this book at this point. It can be anything that comes out later, or any homebrew creation, and just apply that logic to it. That elementals blank, this is the stats, the curve of how they do stuff. And it's just it's really good.
I like it a lot.
I fangirled enough where I think I'm gonna reach out and be like, hey, do you want to come on our morning show? We've already dissected your book, but now I want to dissect with you here too.
Yeah, so. I want to read through it all the way, cover to cover. Let's do it. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's such a pleasure to be back. Thank you for your patience with us last week, as we were dying a little bit. Monday, I was like, it was stupid of us to think we could do this.
I'm like most things, I'm positive I can do it, and then I get there and I'm like, oh yeah.
And then Friday ended up being it was a long week, and then Friday it was like I was leaving immediately after the show, and so I was like running around with like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to get stuff prepped, and all of that stuff.
You got to your flight with 1 minute to spare on the day of your departure. You were just there like,
on
like,
Sunday,
it's already boarding.
It was bad. I very nearly missed my flight. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. We look forward to seeing y'all again later.
We have a few things coming up, because you were about to say tomorrow, but I think we might be making a migration, so I guess we just want to start priming people that we might be starting to I think I'll talk to you in a sec, because I'm just now thinking of this in the moment, but I think we're going to maybe for at least a week or two maybe try to do both, but we're going to be the other platform that does video stuff that I don't know if I want to name.
That's not nearly specific enough. Keep an eye on our socials. We'll be figuring it out over the next couple of days here probably, but we're going to be probably moving our stream elsewhere. And then tomorrow night we have the finale of Hymns of Humblewood. So check that out. Come to the conclusion of the campaign. And then we'll be back on Friday to bring more nonsense to your morning.
I thought I had my sticker here. I had my Heroico sticker somewhere. I didn't put it on my laptop yet.
I have mine right here. Whoop.
Yep.
Whoop. 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 Whoop.
I like our mom's one. I like Hecate's one, but it would kind of look a little bit better with like a Virgin Mary,
with
like
the,
big
with
old
the poncho,
Afghan. I'm just saying, like it's but that's live and learn. That's in the future. I'll commission that portrait to put on my wall later.
It needs to be commissioned as a cross stitch. Thank you everybody for being here. Have a great rest of your week. We will see you on Friday for more Warlocks and Waffles. Until then, mimics can be bodies.
Man.
Bodies can be monsters. and monsters can be friends. Until next time, everybody, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday. Later.